to infinity and beyond.
What's up, everybody? It's Roger and James here from DisKingdom with Infinity and Beyond. Okay, in this episode, we're going to be talking all about some E3 news So let's kick things first off with Star Wars Battlefront 2, which kind of got shown off in a lovely presentation. I'm going to be honest, I have moved house this week. This is why the podcast is in a slightly different format. So I haven't watched hours and hours and hours of all the gameplay. I've watched the trailers, I've watched some of the things, but I've had to kind of just catch up on the main bits and pieces. I'm going to be honest, that trailer looked epic. They look like they have really managed to come together and make a Star Wars game that I think this is going to be very, very good.
I have to think it was a very good trailer. It makes up for a lot of the problems that we saw with the original Battlefront. In a lot of ways, I think this year, between Battlefront 2 and Destiny 2, we're going to be looking at games that maybe had lukewarm starts, are taking the framework built by those not perfect games and making stuff that we actually genuinely want to play. And obviously we're not talking about Destiny 2 in this one, but Battlefront 2, it looks fantastic. And I mean that literally. It looks fantastic. The graphics look amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. This is going to be this point of I'm just needing to do it now over the summer, save up myself for a PlayStation 4 Pro, because I think this is going to look gorgeous on it. I think it's very interesting that they're focusing right now they've been focused on the prequels for E3. Showing off the assault on, Feed, showing off Darth Maul, showing off Yoda, the battle droids, the locations. And it's that weird thing of I can't really believe that we're actually focused on prequels, because Disney have not really been doing a lot on that era for since they took over. You know, it looks gorgeous. I mean, the way they've done the droids and stuff, I think it very much feels like, right, everything that you did in Battlefront 1, we're just going to bring that over anyway. So you've all seen all that before. Let's show you some nice, new, shiny new things that will make you want to buy it, how we've improved things. And we're going to save all the Last Jedi stuff till later down the line. The fact that they showed off in the trailer, Rogue One, prequels, you got Kylo Ren versus Rey in there. You've then got the new story mode. You've also got some moments there with the Millennium Falcon thing from the original ones, Boba Fett in there. He's really just showing off everything, and it really does seem like it's come out of the gate strong.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things that held back the original game was this idea that we can't cross the streams, as it were. We can't have a game with the prequels and the modern era being the original trilogy, and the new stuff, and just well, why not? This is Star Wars. One of the great things about Star Wars is going, who would win in a fight, Darth Maul or Luke Skywalker or whatever. So
yeah,
obviously they didn't actually show any cross timeline stuff, but the fact that they're willing to include from the three different eras is huge.
I did see some footage of Rey running around on Feed. She died really quickly, so she was running around in the multiplayer mode. It definitely feels like they are going in on this. I almost feels like everything that we saw in the first game will just roll over a little bit, maybe the maps and the characters, because they've been tweaked a little bit, but it makes sense just to build this epic thing. And I think if they actually include those original maps, plus have all this new stuff, you're going to kind of almost... Because, looking at some of those maps, can they really improve Hoth and Tatooine? I don't think there's a necessary need to spend time doing that, but the fact that they said the game's 3 times bigger, we've got a story mode. They also announced that they've dumped the season pass. That's gone.
Right. That's huge.
They're now doing 3 seasons. The first season is going to include playable Captain Phasma and Finn. He came. John Boyega did a video where he announced that they don't want to split their audience. They are going to be doing updates for it, and there's going to be free maps, free heroes, free weapons, so that's good to kind of keep players engaged. They're doing all this stuff with star cards and battle points, which I'm guessing is what's going to be the microtransactions. And there's going to be Maybe I think I read like some kind of loot kind of box system probably.
I saw that too. I think that they're looking as a company at the success of Overwatch, Titanfall, even Halo 5 to a certain degree, even though we don't really hear about Halo 5 in the modern shooter arena spectrum. From my understanding is 343 Studios is still ranking in money from the loot boxes in that game. And I think that they've realized that keeping a concentrated player base with, as you were saying, with everyone has all the maps except for Last Jedi. It sounded like they might be charging for Last Jedi content.
I think it's a pre-order bonus for a bit.
Right, okay. And it's possible they might charge for it later. They were kind of sketchy on that one. But everything else, at least, is free. And so the incentive to pay is, visual, cosmetics, maybe advancing a little bit faster with, like, experience boosters or something. And as a player, I have no problem with that at all. Sometimes it's really cool to see another player with, like, I don't know, maybe they'll be playing with Rey and she'll have the Last Jedi look, and someone else will be playing with Rey and she'll have her the Force Awakens look, and we can see Luke maybe go throughout the years. You could have him as Farm Boy, you could have him as, in his black outfit in Return of the Jedi. Yeah, I was blanking on that one.
Yeah.
But, we'll see what happens with this. But I think that making the season pass free for everyone, all-inclusive, is great, because this is what we want. We want to be able to play together, whether or not I've bought DLC and whether or not you've bought DLC.
Yes, it's that weird line, isn't it, between like offering something for free to get people to keep playing together in other ways. Where I think we're going to see a lot more cosmetic stuff, a lot more. And I imagine, the pay-to-win situation is going to be where people want these battle points to get, because they've kind of got rid of the little icons, and now you've got to build up points from doing stuff to unlock the heroes and all the rest of it. So I imagine they're like, you can buy a box with 1,000 points in, so you can, I can see that being a thing, people jumping into it. It's like when a new hero gets dropped down. In some ways, I have got no problem with them charging for heroes and stuff, but because they're not playable the 100 all the time, it makes it less interesting. I mean, I know Overwatch, I think they're all looking now, and it's this big thing this year, they want services. They want to be able to update. Battlefront 2 is going to be a 2-3 year game. Easily. Yeah.
Easily. It would very much surprise me if we saw Battlefield 3 even in the next 3 or 4 years. Because they're really setting this up as a platform. And this is what we're going to see for a lot of games in the near future, is this platform that you can attach DLC to. And, I mean, they announced, 3 seasons is the plan, but there's no reason that they couldn't add more at the end of that if they really needed to. Yeah. And we, on the consumer side, would be none the wiser if they're like, oh, we really did have Battlefront 3 planned for, 2020, but it got delayed, so it's coming in 2021. Here, have a whole other season based on, the Boba Fett movie or whatever comes out at that time.
Well, I mean, I think, at this point we got Last Jedi, we're probably going to have the Han Solo, and probably, maybe even episode 9. So they can kind of stretch out 3 different movies, different... The thing is, it's like with the heroes, if they throw them all out there, there's not going to be a lot to add in after that. But, no, I mean, just generally... they seem to have come out strong. There's lots of people playing it at the EAPlay event. They showed off loads and loads of streams of the event as well. And there's lots of footage. Unfortunately, a load of it leaked just a couple hours before the event, because they had all the YouTubers that they'd sent out playing it, and some of them got out early. They got to see some new the story mode thing. Generally, I mean, it did feel like EA kind of literally launched the whole of E3 pretty much launched off the back of Star Wars Battlefront 2.
I agree. I mean, obviously they're holding back all the other Star Wars titles, Visceral's Star Wars titles, so this is their big launch. We did not see anything major from their other first-person shooter, Battlefield 1. I think they announced the Russian expansion pack, which we already knew about, we just didn't have the details for. And off the top of my head, I can't think of any other significant things that EA announced.
Need for Speed.
I guess. Well, Need for Speed, and then of course, I still think of BioWare as its own entity, even though it's been an EA one. They announced Anthem, of course, but yeah, Battlefront 2 is the big one. And you look at a lot of these websites right now, and okay, so there's the trailer for Anthem, there's the trailer for Need for Speed, but you look for Battlefront 2, and there's gameplay footage all over the place. You know, they're pushing it.
Yeah, I think it's up because people have actually people at the event have got their hands on it and are playing it. You know, some of the gameplay footage that I've been watching of like the new weapons, the new droids. I mean, I'm just sitting here going, this seems so exciting because the droids kind of, and I always loved them, and it was that kind of thing of they kind of got a bad rep, and it's like, yeah, they're fun, and it's just like, you know, people obviously, you know, the idea that you can jump around a bit, and you know, you've got all these different planets, which I feel Disney are trying to mash up that original prequel did exist. You know, they're trying to cross those lines a little bit, trying to fill in the gaps. Because I always felt like, you know, episode 3 to episode 4, there was such a... They're going, oh, well, 20, 30 years were between them. Well, it felt completely separate. You know, the droids are... You know, the idea of what they did with Rogue One, where they've still got droids hanging around, and... You know, we've seen with Rebels, they're definitely looking at they want to fill that line a bit and cross over, and you know, even little nods to it in like episode 7 of droids and things like this, and that's felt so needed because I think you know, those prequels just left everything like, load on, you've got an entire world which doesn't match up completely with the next one.
Yeah, and I think that was probably a pretty smart move by Disney, actually, is, you know, they wanted to focus on the original trilogy. They wanted to focus on these heroes that we grew up with. And they kind of saved the prequels for a while. They acknowledged they existed, but they didn't really do much with them. But it's not just in the games we're starting to see this, too. Like, the comic universe is starting to dive into it as well. We've got a Darth Maul comic, which is set, you know, in the Clone Wars era. The Darth Vader comic series just got restarted, but it's starting from the very ending of Revenge of the Sith, where he gets turned into, you know, the Vader that we know. And it's kind of nice to see them acknowledging the prequels. I know most of us kind of look on them with some disdain, to be polite, but they are part of the canon, they are part of the history, and there are actually some very cool parts of those stories.
Yeah, and there are some great characters and some great moments, but also I was thinking, you know, there's a generation that grew up on the prequels as their first entrance point, and they are all now going to be consumers. They're all late teenagers, early 20-somethings that have got a connection to this brand that, okay, we were much older when these came out, so therefore we were like, oh no. But Darth Maul and, you know, those movies did influence a whole generation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Duel of the Fates, the soundtrack for Darth Maul is almost as iconic as the Imperial March. I mean, I'm stretching a bit there, but most people will recognize that, even if you don't recognize any of the rest of the soundtracks from the prequels. But, yeah, Darth Maul, even though he was only the villain for the one movie, and it's the most reviled of the Star Wars movies in general, has a huge fan base, to the point where they actually brought him back for the cartoon series, 2 cartoon series, and people still love reading about him, even though he did basically nothing in that movie except kill Qui-Gon.
I mean, it does look like in the game, they look like they've kind of upped the heroes a little bit, where like I saw like Boba Fett flying around, Darth Maul using his... Because sometimes the heroes felt a little bit overpowered, but also very limited because you had to wait for the cooldown. It doesn't quite look like that's quite as bad in this one.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a serious imbalance with the characters in the first one. I remember Boba Fett being just completely overpowered, and you see people posting videos of going like 88 and 2 because they got the Boba Fett token. Yeah. And, well, on the flip side, you would get, you know, maybe Princess Leia, who was meant to be a healer.
Yeah.
And she would just end up getting targeted and killed real fast, and you wouldn't do much with her.
No.
So balancing, definitely important. And it looks like, you know, the hero characters have more to do now than just be superpowered. Like powers plus your normal ability. But it seems like they're meant to be more kinetic, more involved in the action.
Yeah, and also there's going to be 4 different classes of players. You've got like the heavies, you've got the officer, you've got like infantry, and then you've kind of got special teams, which are like the jumper and like the sniper and stuff. You know, they're kind of bringing in the classes and making it a little bit more tactical. So there's a kind of thing of, you know, like for me, I might be like, well, actually, am I better as a heavy hero to kind of go in with I think you had like one of the droids where they just had a big like machine gun, so you're more about just laying down heavy fire, or there's some different options there, and I think that's going to add a lot more to the game.
And that's a big deal for me too, because like I barely played Battlefront 1 because it was primarily a multiplayer shooter, and it was just an old school multiplayer shooter where you either killed people or you got killed yourself, and there was very little else for you to do unless you picked up a hero token or maybe went in a ride for a vehicle for a very short amount of time before someone blew you up. But this idea of having classes, if there's a healer class or some sort of utility class, like
I think the officer class can do healing and
stuff. In which case, that is the type of character that I play in these squad-based or massive first-person shooters, because I can't hit the broadside of a barn, especially not using a PlayStation or Xbox controller. I'm awful using those controllers in a first-person shooter. But you don't have to as a healer. More often than not, your job is to stand out of the way, not shoot people, heal the people who are shooting people, and if they get killed, maybe resurrect them and let the sniper shoot them a couple more times before resing them again. So that might actually encourage me, a non-competitive gamer, to actually jump into games, especially if I get to, form up a squad with you and maybe some of the Res TV guys, and we can go around. I can be the healer, you can have your minigun out there, and the other guys can do their thing.
Yeah,
so
it definitely is looking very good. I'm going to be honest, I think my pre-order for the deluxe edition is pretty much going to be sorted once the UK websites put them up, because you're going to get it a couple of days early. There's a load of pre-order bonuses. There's also going to be a beta as well in the fall. That if you pre-order, you get a code to get in on that as well. And I'm just there going, yeah, yes, please. It's just like, I'm just sitting going, yep, I will. I'm in. I'm really hoping I get to play the game. I'm really hoping it's at EGX this year so I can play it myself. It's looking. I think it's also going to be at D23. It looks like it's going to be an epic game.
It would be absolutely stupid for them to not have it at D23. I don't think they've announced the Star Wars plans yet, but I mean, it was at the last D23. I mean, Battlefront 1 was. Obviously, it was one of the keynote items there. I can't imagine it won't be at D23. Personally, I am not going to pre-order it, but that's because I have a no pre-order policy. However, I do have the EA access on my Xbox One, so I'll get to try it for a couple days. And since that is the full experience, either that or the Origin access on PC,
which is free this week as well, actually. Well, we'll just pop on there.
That's a good point.
It is free
both of those are free. Both of those are free. They're absolutely worth checking out. But because of that, I will use those as my determination on whether or not I get the game, because I'm always leery of publishers these days. Like, it looks fantastic, but what's the final product going to look like? Is it going to be a buggy mess? Is it going to have frame rate issues? I want to get it in my hands before I actually give you money. But, if I get a chance to play it 3 days early thanks to EA Access, and it turns out it runs beautifully, it runs the way we want, the single-player mode is substantial and not just tacked on, I'll totally buy it in like those 2 days before it officially releases.
Yeah, it's definitely looking good. So now, guys, we'd love to know what you guys are thinking about Star Wars Battlefront 2. Let us know in all the comments below. Get in touch with us on all the different social medias. You can find us over at DisKingdom.com and also DisGaming.com. James, where can they find you at the moment?
HeroicLegacy.com.
Also, a quick note to say as well, we are giving it away. Cars Free Driven to Win this month over on the 2 websites. You'll find them over at DisGaming.com/giveaway and the same at DisKingdom.com/giveaway. So we're going to be giving that one away. So definitely want to check that one out. Hit that subscribe button and we shall see you guys soon. Laters.
Later.